Yes, so we have a special guest tonight, Jaden. But you go by is we tell us about Herman Flat Earth.
All right, check 1, 2. Here we are.
Yes,
You're live, buddy.
So yeah, my name's Jaden. Sometimes I get called Jay. That's cool too. It's easier to remember than Jaden.
Yeah.
And so my YouTube channel is Herman Flat Earth. That started Herman is also my baptized name.
Okay.
And so when I re-signed up for Facebook as I was getting into Flat Earth, well, at this point I was already way convinced, but I re-signed into Facebook after being out for several years and said, what happens if I sign up and my name on there is Herman Flat Earth? How long can I last with the last name Flat Earth?
Right.
Before they
One
take
word
it down.
before. I'm just a test. How long can it last? And I went through 3 accounts that way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 accounts in a matter of maybe 6 or 7 months. And by the end of it, now it's just back to my normal name, just to be able to be on there. And it is a useful tool. But yeah, so that's why Herman Flat Earth, and I put that up with my YouTube all at the same time. So that's the YouTube channel, is Herman Flat Earth. More than anything, it was just something to put there, and also, not having my first and last name, like
Right.
But, yeah.
Out
Sure.
in the web where everyone can.
Right. Why not?
Get into
But
it.
it's like anyone else. It's like, is Alex Jones's name Alex Jones, or is Joe Rogan's name really Joe Rogan? Well, maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, we're getting a little.
Speaking of Alex Jones, doesn't he shut down Flat Earth pretty quick when people
so-
talk about that on his show?
Yeah. What's funny? Okay, so intro. I woke up, you could say, to the, quote unquote conspiracy, and we even know that word conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Was created by the CIA to kind of push people back who were bringing up issues in the John F. Kennedy assassination, and that term was coined in the 60s to kind of just label anyone with any alternate, auditing on thought on anything that our lovely, government here is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of all gets wrapped into, well, that's a conspiracy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, for better purposes, I woke up, actually, a pastor of the Anchor Fellowship in Nashville, Tennessee, who was running a stage at Cornerstone Music Festival
awesome.
when that was going on for several years. I got hooked up with him, was helping out with him, stayed with them in Nashville for a month, and I was only 15 years old at this point in time.
Okay.
And knew them through a series of a vineyard kind of meetup. Anyways, he put in 9/11 Road to Tyranny. This is Alex Jones's one of his earlier documentaries, and it was really the first time the coin 9/11 was an inside job. That whole thing got coined from this this deal, and so this was now this was like 2004, I think.
Yeah.
2005
after.
when I saw this, and originally that was the seed that was planted, right? Because as we continue to go throughout all the different topics that we might lead to, there's a lot of building blocks to get to this point, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of building blocks.
You got to start somewhere. You
Right.
can't just go to the deep ends, to the far out.
Yeah.
Quote unquote conspiracies.
Right.
You got to break yourself in, so to speak, with it.
Yeah, and also that conspiracy, that word gives off that negative vibe.
It's a trigger word.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That you're weird, or that you're
We were taught to reject it, really.
exactly. But yeah, man. So would you consider, or would you say that 9/11 would be this inside type of thing?
Right, and you know what's funny? Okay, so I started on that because you asked, isn't Alex Jones pretty anti?
Right.
Yeah.
Certain things, let's just say, across the board, certain topics. What will Alex Jones not talk about? He won't talk about the moon landing. He won't talk about Freemasons. He won't talk about Jesuits. He won't talk about high-ranking Vatican officials and such. He won't talk about Kabbalistic, Zionistic certain sects of Jews.
Mm-hmm.
He won't talk about a lot of topics, and this is one of those things.
Okay.
Now, so it's funny, I've personally probably listened to I've probably listened to more Alex Jones than like 99% of the population, because from that point on, right, I have kept up and had the daily subscription on the podcast and listen.
Nice.
Till about maybe a year and a half ago, I really had to, 2 years ago, I really stopped tuning in just because I, couldn't deal with it sometimes, some of his I love his stuff. I'm not saying anything. It's just kind of like, now there's so many people out there, and now that we know what he's hiding, it's kind of like it's good to go in, and I watch it the same way I watch the evening news now.
Okay.
Tune in to see what he's talking about.
Right.
What points he's making here. For all I know, with people like this, they could be great guys still. For all we know, someone showed up in their office and said, if you talk about this, or this, your kids, they're going to be ours. Your head, it's ours.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go ahead and continue on your merry way, but you can't talk about X, Y, and Z. And if you do, you're going to, have repercussions.
Mm-hmm. And
then it could even go to a scale deeper in the truth, or it's like the truth movement, right? The truth. What is the truth? In that whole framework, he could be a bad guy. He could be, giving us false information to lead us this way or the other. So to answer your question, what do I believe about 9/11? Well, there's a movie that came out a while ago now, 4 years ago, called September Clues.
Ooh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, September Clues really rehashed 9/11 and really made one thing clear. That the airplanes that we see on the screen going in are more than likely CGI. Okay. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but watch September Clues. The zoom in, the slow down, everything about it looks like basically like early 2000s CGI work, maybe a little bit more advanced, right? Now, some people want to go off and say, well, it was a hologram, it was this, it was that. And for all we know, it was a plane that went in. But what everyone can agree upon, and really the only important thing about it, is that this was the World Trade Center. And I think most Americans and folks who were affected by it, they took it personally, as a patriotistic kind of, you did this to America.
Yeah.
But what we fail to just look at the title. The title shows everything.
Mm-hmm.
The World Trade Center. This is one world government at its finest, then hashing out a false flag on itself,
right?
And affecting the world's economy. And really, this one world global elite who had, check it out, World Trade Center 7. I don't know if anyone knows about that. There was 3 buildings that came down in New York City in the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. 3 buildings. Obviously, the 2 towers, and then World Trade Center 7. That was the 3rd
barely
building.
On fire.
Yeah, barely on fire, and then remote controlled demolition 4 or 5 hours after the 2nd tower had crashed. Everyone says it would take weeks.
Was there video?
Right.
You would be putting that stuff in there. And guess what it held? The computer mainframes, all the information, the hard drive of the world's economy. And then look what happens throughout, right? We have the recession again and the banker bailouts and everything to go economically continuing with that, It could have been a form of their own jubilee, Wipe it out and start new.
Start new, yeah.
Reason to go to war.
Yeah.
Isn't there a video of them saying pull the building? Like they intentionally dropped it.
Yeah.
Someone calling over the radio and then people hearing a loud boom.
Yeah, like before it went down.
Yeah, and then, I think there was maybe even officers clearing the area.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. It's that's
a heavy topic.
For sure.
Right.
Dude, you could go hours on that.
Oh, yeah. Right? And everything that's been discovered since then. And really, here's what I think, in a nutshell, happened. You have, with the reaction of 9/11, to make it super simple, there are 2 fractions of people. Okay? There's really thousands. But let's make it simple. And there's a type of person who says, I believe everything they're telling me,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no reason to question it. And everything that happened henceforth makes sense. Why? Yeah, we would go to war. Yeah, we would do X, Y, and Z and continue forward. And then the other set of people, with all their schisms and all their subgroups, really is the other form of person who says, well, I've seen the evidence, and there's something weird going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that conclusion is, all kinds of people have different things. They foresaw this when it originally happened. That was the whole point. Make it look enough of a realistic kind of, make it look like the narrative that they gave us, so that we have these folks and we can kind of test how gullible our populace is. We can really see where they're at. And with the NSA and reading everyone's thoughts by basically calculating through artificial intelligence their next move, what they think, who they're talking to, what they're talking about, as we're all, you know what I mean? However they need to kind of look at it, they could study the populace and see what are they going, cause and effect, react and reaction, action, reaction. It's really, 9/11 is like, let's then hopefully keep everyone contained. And those we don't contain, we need to control the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get people, I believe, like Alex Jones.
Yeah,
there you go.
So so you get folks who are going to speak the truth, but at the end of the day, you're gonna turn off your podcast, and you're not going to arrive at a form of freedom because you've realized what you've learned. You're going to arrive at a form of fear.
Yeah.
You're going to be, it's literally, it's really fear-driven, right? They're going to nuke us. There's going to be more war. There's going to be more corruption. There's going to be more this. There's going to be more that. So then you're buying more food. And I'm not saying that any prepper stuff is bad. It's actually quite smart. Mm-hmm. But with it given, it is a controlled opposition in as much as they know so long as they can keep the awake folks afraid, they have us at bay, and they also have our money. And it's a whole another economy of the whole, the whole firearms movement and everything resurging. And it also has created the sub-patriot movement, very strong, very diverse. But a lot of people are now more American than they were or would have been if it wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
More people go back to the Constitution. They go back to, and I'm not, that's another, whole topic. So, but basically, long story short, then with this subgroup control, it's controlled opposition is what it's called. So you have, Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and all the guys on the AM radio, George Norrie. You have 550 KFYI. He's been on there for years and years and years. I don't know. Anyways,
Glenn Beck,
all these guys. All these guys to appear as radical, to appear as free thinkers, and as folks to question the norm, but only to the border in which
they're allowed.
So they're basically feeding you little scraps, but they're not giving you the whole pie. You know, they want to keep that to themselves.
Right, and so then that's what ensued with me until 3.5, 4 years ago when I first came across Flat Earth. It was kind of at that point the climax of all conspiracies, the conspiracy of all conspiracies. And when you really realize, wow, even my own eyes, my own senses have tricked me for so long. That wow, there really is. So it is a climax in one of the biggest issues right now, as much as all the other diverse information can make it seem, well, what's significant about it? Why most people arrive at this fact and say, well, what does it matter? What does it matter whether the Earth is flat or a circle is what they'll say. What does it matter if it's a circle or if it's flat? Well, my round table in my living room is a circle, and it's flat. So it's even the language is messed up. Circle somehow means ball.
Right.
No, it's a ball. We need to say specifically it's not a circle. A circle is a two-dimensional diagram. A ball is or a cylinder or a sphere. So again, so then they use that even the language we use. And so so let me just say in like a super humble way, I've just listened to so much over the years and studied so much and really believe that God has given me so many good people around me, good information, and trying to weed out, you know, what's junk out there and what's good and what's life-giving out there. So I've studied a lot of the occult. My grandfather is a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Grandmaster.
Wow.
I've only met him twice. He disowned my mother because she married someone who wasn't Aryan. My father, who was Italian, so it's kind of weird. You know, so even he really truly at his high-ranking, you know, situation within the Masons was still very Aryanistic, I guess.
Hardcore.
Hardcore. Yeah, but we met him twice. I do have a couple things from him. I have a Freemasonic Bible, which I should have brought in.
That's right.
I have it. Yeah, I just got that the other day.
Did you post a photo on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that photo, man. That's cool.
Yeah, so several, you know, so there's something about genealogy, bloodline, and power in that. And so I think that subvertently, maybe a lot of, you know, what he was exposed to, you're going to be, you know, possibly exposed to in some way, shape, or form, right? So there is a deep connection and I've always been searching, I've been looking and been learning all the way through and along to arrive finally at the climax, which is, I believe, the flat Earth. Which even flat Earth, right? That's a trigger word, and we all have these trigger words that might shut us down right away. So,
right. I mean, you're talking about 4 or 5 years ago. This is what got you started in this, and to be honest, man, for me, it's been something that's been new as far as, I don't know, not even a year ago. It's been fresh. And I think this is something that's still new.
Yeah, totally.
So,
which is good. It's, everyone. All of us are
gaining a lot of steam,
Yeah.
And it's a big jump. Like, for people that aren't even open to questioning 9/11 and stuff like that, you say flat Earth.
Yeah.
They're instantly get out of my face. Almost angry, you know.
Oh,
and I was like that.
Yeah. Oh,
too, you know.
Cognitive dissonance is what that's called.
And I believe in freaking UFOs, Bigfoot.
Right.
I want to believe in that stuff, and I still couldn't couldn't grasp flat Earth. So it's a big subject, man.
Yeah. So why I like to tell people, and I kind of am borrowing this from a guy, Rob Skiba, but I had the same thought, and I'm glad he said it. There's, you know, with flat Earth, there's really 3 or 4 groups of people, right? There's the one group who's just pissed. It just makes them angry.
Right.
It's just like, no. And it never will. They'll never even go there. They won't second guess it.
It's a waste
Their
of
mind's
time.
made up. Waste of mind.
Yeah.
The second group of people are folks who say, okay, cool. I mean, that was a fun thing to hear you talk about or whatever, but doesn't change my life.
Right.
You know, and they
For
go
in
on
and
forward.
out, yeah.
Then you have the other folks who go, wow, that really is some compelling evidence. I'm going to, look into that more for myself and see what that might mean and how that might change my life, if it does at all or doesn't. And then you have the fourth group of people, which is really where I've, fallen into, is it's really something huge, something significant, something life-changing, and something where you go, wow, I am completely convinced, and I wake up every morning and I look outside at the sun floating right over the flat plain, and I see the moon and the sun in the sky like yin and yang. Like the moon is here to tell seasons, and the sun knows it's going, and it's so obvious, And so those folks, and then those folks, and most people in that fourth category, their life, what I've noticed, their life is drastically changed forever. Maybe it's their job, maybe it's just what they're going to do in their business, who they are as people. The biggest thing for me, it was letting go of the fear. I really call it the sphere porn, right?
Okay.
I call it the sphere porn because it's letting go of the Alex Jones end of the world, because we know stuff is happening. Anyone who gets on YouTube and does a few hours of any alternate media, at the end of it will leave it going, wow, things are really going negatively, appearing negatively. And so there's a little bit of no hope in there. There's a little bit of
right.
You know, so this really, and in a way, brings a lot of hope with the information that it brings, and I'll explain more why as we go through. But
it's a more designed by a creator, so it was purposely in the flat Earth concept. There's no way to say God didn't create us, you know.
Right.
So the sphere, this happened because something blew up and we're all here.
Right.
But if it's true that this exists,
if the heavens revolve around us, it's obvious that God put them there to show them to us.
It'll wake your ass up if you start thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I guess we're getting basically religious with this right now,
and it's not meant to be. So sorry.
No worries.
You can't help it.
Yeah.
That's kind of basically my question with it is there anywhere biblically where we can kind of relate this to, flat Earth, and where, I guess, my question to you is that.
Yeah. I would say, wow. If we so we should probably just say really quick that we should do a little tangent of intro to this.
Yes.
And for the folks who've never heard about this and they're tuning into you guys, they might know you guys, they might not. And they're going, what are these guys talking about when it comes to what is the flat Earth? How does this have to do with anything? So we will go through a basic. What I say is that from the point of view I'm coming from, it's not the sole thing. I'm not a solo scripturist. I'm not one who says only the Bible and anything else other than that is out there. You know? Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a little bit legalistic and it limits us. But if we were to be those kinds of folks and say it's only the Bible, then we better believe in a flat Earth, because the Bible, time and time and time and time again, not even just the flat Earth. Let's just say, it is called azimuthal, right, or also the zetetic astrology. So zetetic, in our heliocentric model, right, there was a Big Bang. All of the universe is spread out. Mm-hmm. It's all by random oozes and chemical reactions that planets and rocks and whatever these things that came out of nothing came to be, then start to react with temperature and moisture and time and over billions and billions or quadrillions of years. So big in numbers that no one wants to do the math to check them out and see if it works. Mm-hmm. So big in numbers that eventually we arrive at Earth, the globe, and we arrive at what we are, and it's perfect containment, and it's perfectly from the sun, not too far, not too hot, not too cold. It's all set up so perfectly, and so this model of the universe is really anti-biblical. This modern day scientific model that our children are taught, we were taught, we all, National Geographic, everyone that the collective, we pretty much agree that these are true things. So what happened was that at some point the church had to say, no, we're wrong. So that was the big thing. When you have folks like here we go. When you have folks like Sir Isaac Newton, right? All Freemasons. You have folks like Nietzsche and these Copernicus, these big scientists who worked up the math, all Freemasons, mind you, who worked up the math on how the heliocentric model of the universe is true. Basically, what they really did was they rubbed it in the church's face that you're wrong and you've been wrong all along. Mm-hmm. So, and all the churches, I mean, from India to Egyptian cosmology to Hebraic cosmology, native religions such as the Mayans and the Aztecs, mm-hmm. all of them, in their imagery, in their paintings, in their descriptions of the earth, depict a flat, as we see from standing on the ground, a flat surface. Obviously there's mountains and there's ranges, but water, right? The water is sea level. Right. Mm-hmm. So the water's level, it's not sea curved, you mm-hmm. know. So it's all sea level. And in this model, the sun is above it, the moon is above it, and it's all magnetized. It's all and it's all similar. And the sun and the moon and the stars all repeat their seasons. So everyone kind of understood this model that, these guys 500-600 years ago came out and said, "Oh, we're so radical. We've been wrong all these years." And 500 years ago, they figured it out. Mm-hmm. Problem is, 500 years ago, we didn't have rocket ships and cameras and GoPros, and we didn't have We didn't have more than that. The immense amount of information and tools that we can all do our own scientific research now. You know, we can go get a drone, spend a couple grand, put a camera on it that doesn't have a fisheye lens on it, and go fly it really high up there and see what you might find. You know, so I think that's what it really boils down to, is that so many things in the Bible. I have so many friends who have left Christianity behind in the dust because the Bible, they have issues with it. And they went to school, and they're well-educated people, and they look at the Bible, and they literally go, look, dude, I can't believe this anymore. You know? What is it here about? Why would I worship a God who goes in and says, kill the Canaanites, right? Kill the women, kill the children, kill the animals, burn the tents, burn the spoils of war, no prisoners, none at all.
Right.
And God said that God commanded that of them. But then when we really think about it, right, and we know that the Canaanites sent out Goliath. The Canaanites sent Goliath to battle David. So they have a giant, you know. The Bible is saying that this is a giant, right? In modern day terms, the Smithsonian and everyone hide giant bones. But there are plenty of giant bones out there to be found and that have been found and well documented. So, you know, a lot of folks go, oh, yeah, you know, Goliath wasn't. We have to look at it. Can't take it literally, you know. You got to look at that figuratively, you know. He was a big warrior. No, the Bible says he's 9'8", you know.
Gave you a description.
Yeah, description. And so this is the Canaanite people we're talking about. And what God was saying was that they were an abomination, that they were actually a different genealogy, a different gene type. A different and similar to the folks that needed to be wiped out in the flood. So this isn't God being merciless and seemingly angry with even humans, normal humans. This is another race of people right in our faces, right in the Bible, and we missed it all along. You know what I mean? So that's but most folks will look at it and go, I can't believe in a God like that would say that. He seems hypocritical. How could Jesus say, you know, turn the other cheek? And then this God's saying that. God's not talking about normal people that we have seen, that we know. And these are a big race of people. So that whole thing kind of goes over into everything, into science, into our idea of what the universe is and what we see it to be, of what life means and what all these things mean. The Bible, when we start to take it literally, and then now we have eyes to see, and we have the backing of scientific evidence to go, wow, it's been true all along. Can you believe that? So you asked what the Bible says about flat Earth.
Right.
Starting with Genesis 6, he talks about, Genesis 1:6, he talks about the waters above and the waters below. That's one of the first things that is definitely interesting.
Yeah, right? It is, right.
You're like, waters above, waters below. So does that mean waters subterranean and waters on the earth, you know? And then it says there's waters in the heavens right after that. It says the waters in the heavens. So that's one tangent, you know. But, which we, obviously, I don't know these answers. I haven't been to the heavens yet.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I need to cross a water barrier to get there. But it is ironic that the sky is blue. I think that's just ironic. So I'm landlocked here, or I've been in Kansas landlocked for days. And they say, well, the sky's blue because when the sun's shining 8 million miles away, it's reflecting the ocean up into the atmosphere. So what you're seeing is an opposite. That's what science is saying all the time. Everything you think you know, that when you think you figured it out, science is saying it's an optical illusion. Right? So there's no up. Okay, that's the biggest conspiracy of all this. Modern day science on the globe has convinced us all, and we all believe it. There is no up and there is no down. If you are on Australia and you're underneath the earth, or you're up here in Greenland, you know, up and down are relative. So the most common, basic, universal truth, doesn't matter what religion you are or what you believe, the universal truth is that up is up and down is down.
What goes up must come down.
What goes up must come down. And if we were all standing together, we would say, yeah, that is up and this is down. But science is literally saying that when you have a ball and you have infinite space surrounded in a whole area around that, that up is not. You know, up is up and up is not down. More than that too. how does that affect biblical references when it says God is up in the heavens? You know, when God or Sheol or Hades is down below the earth. You know, this is language that is so now. You look at it and go, see, the Bible, God didn't write this, you know? Why would God say that the heavens are up? God obviously knows that the heavens is 360, beneath, below, above, and aside of. You know, there is no up and no down. This is relative, you know? So these are things we're having to fight with. It's a war on reality is what it is, you know? Convincing us at every front that basic things like this, we have to... you know.
There's a couple verses, speaking of the Bible topic, that catch me. You know, it's always mentioned that the earth sets upon the 4 pillars.
Right, the 4 pillars.
The 4 pillars. So on a sphere.
You're saying this is a
and it
Bible
says that
verse?
Yes.
Bible verse.
Yeah. And it says that the earth is his footstool in another passage.
I've heard of that.
So if something's on pillars, it has to be.
And it says it's on pillars. Yeah.
Evenly
think of footstool.
flat
Think of
on
the stool.
it.
Yeah.
And then there's also another verse about God has reached the 4 corners of the earth.
Right.
So that doesn't make sense on a sphere either.
Yeah.
How are you going to get a
And
corner?
there is the one, what most people use when they're trying to say, oh, look, the globe is biblically supported. The one verse they have is that that the circle of the earth, right, there's a verse that says that God formed the circle of the earth, and there's another one that says he sits on the circle of the earth. So it does use the word circle. So that's something there to be had. Let's talk about, too, the firmament. And I think this is an interesting one. I'm definitely not one. Most Christian or religious or of any religion folks who believe in the flat Earth tend to automatically lead to the snow globe model. The snow globe model is there's a big sapphire glass dome. It's covering us all in. It's keeping the waters above from the waters below. This is all fine and dandy. I'm cool to talk about that stuff all day, but it just needs to be said and agreed that we don't know these things. We know that. Operation High Jump, when they went into Antarctica in the 1940s, and then shortly thereafter, in the 1950s, Operation Fishbowl, when they shot rockets up as high as they could go, and then they exploded up in the sky. And just to see, some people say they were testing the limits. They were testing how far they could go, and they were seeing if they could blow a hole in it and continue to go further. So these are military declassified operations. Operation Fishbowl, Operation High Jump, 2 things that are big clues in all of this. But long story short, the firmament, right? God says that the earth there was a dew over the earth before the flood. That this dew, this atmosphere, there was no need for rain. Everything was completely hydrated. Things lived longer. Things grew bigger. Things grew larger. Because of the flood, he had to flood the earth, and then afterwards he put a rainbow in the sky to remind us that it would never flood again. And so a lot of people you go outside and you get a garden hose and you spray it up in the sky, you put your finger on it, you just spray it up in the sky, and you can see a rainbow, big rainbow will form every day, 24/7, so long as the sun is shining, you will see a rainbow. A lot of folks say that, well, because the sun is up here and it's hitting the dome, it's outside of the dome, it kind of adds the bow to it. This is all
so I get the circle,
speculative. Yeah, this is all speculative, speculative thoughts here, but the firmament is a big one. The firmament, the boundaries of heaven and hell, and then the second heaven, the third heaven, the fourth heaven, these different levels of the heavens the Bible talks about, which all, in a way, that you need to take them figuratively when you're looking at the global model. You need to think that, okay, so maybe after hundreds of millions of trillions of billions of light years, that's the funny thing too, light years, right? I'm a flooring guy. I do tile in showers and floors and stuff. I don't measure my tiles in minutes. It's going to take me to go from one end of the room to the other. I measure in inches or feet. You know, they simply could, with outer space, use miles. Just say the sun is 8 gigaplex miles from the Earth. Whatever they want to say. They actually say it's 200 million miles away. The sun is. Which is funnily hard to believe now. But we don't measure anything else in time. But the kind of trick on the math with outer space is that if they tell us that, that star over there is, 800 light years, you and I, the lay people, we don't know how to calculate how many, so we got to calculate how fast light will travel in a second, how many seconds in a year, and then how many years, and then you got to do all. They just set it up to where when you want to start getting into this math, it's daunting. It's just so
the
daunting.
Average person can't.
The average,
yeah,
you're not. Yeah, you got to have special programs that can even calculate this stuff for you. You know.
That's how I am, because it takes me sometimes several times of thinking about something to get it. You know, maybe I'm a slow learner, but to me, when I was first looking into this, I first had to like visualize, okay, how do I get that ball? You got it. How do I get this and make it flat? You know?
Right.
So after looking into it, the simplest way I can maybe explain it to someone else is you take Antarctica, you cut a circle in Antarctica,
invert it,
and just stretch it.
Yeah.
And that way Antarctica becomes the rim of the Earth. So Antarctica is a lot bigger than what we think it is.
I have a picture of that in here somewhere.
Wow, man.
So that's kind of how I visualize it. Because when I look at this and I look at this, I'm like, there's no way you can do that. But it's pretty simple.
So what we're saying is Antarctica is the outer part of the Earth?
Well, so with all of this, a lot of folks in the Flat Earth movement are going to say yes right away. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I'd like to see the first dude to circumnavigate the whole. So what we do is we go down here south of Chile. We get to the peninsula, the Antarctic Peninsula, and you can go in through McMurdo and continue. I want to see the first guy who gets in his boat, stay in the dry, don't go in the ice, you know, go outside of the ice as far as you need to go, and go around the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been done yet. That's the thing. This stuff is quote-unquote been. People who circumnavigate the Earth normally go through Panama. They're coming in through here.
Right.
Everyone's staying just in the northern hemisphere, just far enough to where the first guy who really does an unbiased documentary, and he goes. But see, this is the issue with this stuff too. The United Nations has you know what the United Nations longest standing global decree and agreement is, and where it is. The agreement that's been withheld between all first world countries, the longest, is the decree it's called the Antarctic Treaty, basically. The Antarctic Treaty isn't due for a revisit until 2030 or so, and at that point, apparently they're supposed to discuss what to happen. But around 50, 60 years ago, after Operation High Jump, when we realized that there was really infinite amount of land possibilities and resources and coal. There's videos of all of this, by the way. Admiral E. Byrd documented this stuff after World War II in 1946. You can go on YouTube and you can see Antarctica is full of resources. Antarctica has deserts, sand deserts for days. Antarctica also isn't just a snow ice cap. There are mountains that are made of rock and stone.
Lake, like
there's actually a pyramid. This is an open discovery. It's an open, talked about thing. It's not a secret that there's a pyramid that was discovered in Antarctica. There are dinosaurs, commonly known as it's like a platypus velociraptor, basically. And I discovered this. We were at the Detroit Zoo last summer, and they had a robotic dinosaur exhibit. And one of the dinosaurs was discovered, where they found the bones for each robot, right?
Yeah.
And they said this one was discovered in Antarctica. So even Open Science admits at one point in time, and they have found fossils of leaves and trees, and this is what they're admitting to us openly, that there's tree fossils in Antarctica, right? So we all think we're taught our whole life it's just an ice chunk, and once it melts, we all drown. LA's gone, you know?
Right.
And that's not the truth. It's a giant continent with rock and stone, and its own volcanoes, and its own ecosystem, and its own immense oceanic life, and its own immense mammal life, with penguins and sea lions and.
But we're not allowed to. That's what the treaty is. We're
not
allowed to go there.
We're not allowed to go there. You go so far in the southern hemisphere, especially here. They got south. All these. There's a lot of islands. If you hunt on Google Earth sometime, you can discover that it gets kind of weird. Especially, where's your globe at?
Yeah.
So, especially in the southwestern area, where basically we arrive at the weirdest thing in the entire globe. There's a recount for what we know as this map here. That's how they hide it, see? Everything else on the globe is straight, 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 straight. When you get here, we have all of these lines, these curves.
To piece it together.
To piece it together. Every map has that, which basically, when you do it, you open up possibly another continent right down here. So you have Papua New Guinea. Where's New Guinea? You have, and so all these little sub-islands here, a lot of folks believe that there's a bigger continent sitting right over here.
So what you're telling me
is... Which is called Nod, which is a biblical reference to the land of Nod. And anyways, so that's one thing. What were you saying?
So I was going to say something smart ass. So the island that King Kong lives on could be out there somewhere, and we don't know about it?
We don't know about
it. I just saw that movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they're going...
Oh, did they discover it? I didn't see it either.
So King Kong, basically, there's an island that's surrounded by some type of weather pattern where no one can reach it.
Right.
No one knows about it,
yeah.
but King Kong lives on it.
Right.
So if there's undiscovered parts of the ocean where islands exist, we could find them, dude.
Well, it's funny. There's a reference like in the movie It's a Wonderful Life. That's what it makes me think of. In the movie It's a Wonderful Life, the kid George, right? He always wants to travel the world, and there's a scene in it when his teacher, he says, I want to be a great explorer one day, and the teacher pulls down a map and says, well, Sonny, we've already discovered the entire world.
It's all done.
There's nothing, sorry, we were born a little bit too late, and I always remember that, because I think in every, in a lot of people, there's, especially as a child, there's an infinite possibility range. We all want to be astronauts, we all want to be, I personally remember my kindergarten project, what do you want to be when you grow up? I put a scuba diver, right? So we all have that sense of adventure, and but when you're like landlocked like this, and you say, well, it's already been mapped out, it's discovered, and it's only the Earth is officially, by the way, I think we should say, okay, Google, what's the circumference of the Earth? But from the best of my memory, going on the high side, it's 28,000 miles. Is the admitted circumference of the Earth, 28,000 miles. Now, I don't know about you, but last year I did 48,000 miles in my car. So that means I could have circumnavigated the Earth twice.
That's nuts.
Okay, and I just did all that in Phoenix and Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Earth is not... This is the big thing. Whether it's flat, whether it's a ball, and I'll even go with anyone on this and say, let's just entertain the fact that the Earth is a ball. The math shows that it is no way possible for it to be only 28,000 miles. Because if it's 28,000 miles, and we're measuring that 28,000 miles shows us that there should be a curvature of 7 inches per mile squared. That's the official math. So if it's, in fact, a globe ball that's 28,000 miles in circumference, then when we travel 1 mile, we will lose 8 inches over the horizon. But then you need to square that mile because it's a curve. So that means